Welcome and thank you for standing by. Currently, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to your host and presenter for today, Charles Gamble.
Thank you, Lisa, and good afternoon, everyone, and good morning if you are tuning in from the West Coast. Welcome to today's webinar, the Introduction to the American Community Survey, or the ACS. I'm Charles Gamble, and I work in the American Community Survey Office at the United States Census Bureau. I look forward to sharing information with you about the ACS and the data it provides. If you happen to have questions during the webinar, please submit them using the Q&A feature, and my colleagues will try their best to answer those questions during the webinar. The PDF version of the slides is available at the link shown on the slide. In the chat, my colleague will also share this link to locate the slides for today's webinar. Also, this webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be available online after the webinar. So before we talk about the ACS, let's start with a quick overview of the U.S. Census Bureau as a whole. The Census Bureau is the largest of 13 primary federal government statistical agencies, and our mission is to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people and economy. We strive to provide the most up-to-date, useful, quality data and products while minimizing cost as much as possible. While most people are familiar with the decennial census, we also conduct more than 130 censuses and surveys of households and businesses across the nation each year. This includes the American Community Survey and more than 30 other household surveys. There are also over 60 economic programs. Of these, the economic census is the largest and most comprehensive. There is also information on our nation's public sector provided by the Census of Governments. So let's jump in and go over today's agenda. First, I'll go over the basics of the American Community Survey, including how data are collected, the topics included, and the geographies covered. Next, I'll explain the types of tables or data products available from the ACS. After that, I'll discuss some of the tools available to help you access ACS data, followed by a demonstration of how to find data using a few of those tools. And last, I'll cover some resources available on our website for learning more about the survey and to support your ACS needs moving forward. So the American Community Survey, or the ACS, is the premier source of detailed information about the nation's people and housing. The survey samples approximately 3.5 million addresses each year. These data are collected continuously throughout the year to produce annual social, economic, housing, and demographic estimates for communities throughout the United States and Puerto Rico. The estimates cover more than 40 topics. The ACS collects this detailed information each year that was previously collected by the decennial census each decade. Information from the ACS generates data that help inform how trillions of dollars in federal funds are distributed each year, supporting more than 300 known federal uses and countless non-federal uses. ACS data are timely because they are released the year immediately following the year in which they are collected. The ACS creates period estimates, which means they represent the characteristics of the population housing over a specific data collection period. The ACS releases estimates for 1 year and 5-year periods. The ACS was fully implemented in 2005 after years of extensive testing. The first ACS 1-year estimates were collected in 2005 and released in 2006. And the first 5-year ACS estimates were collected between the years 2005 and 2009 and released in 2010. Now, you may be wondering who uses the ACS and why. So as I just mentioned, information from the ACS generates data that help inform how trillions of dollars in federal funds are distributed each year. One of these federal uses is the U.S. Department of Agriculture's National School Lunch Program, which provides nutritional, balanced, low-cost or no-cost lunches to children each school day. There are also many other uses of ACS data, such as local planners and policymakers, businesses, nonprofits, researchers, and more. Most people probably never think about how local planners use ACS data to know where to target new development or services, or where businesses can get data they need to plan for expansion. For example, the city of Fairview Park in Ohio used ACS data to inform a grant application for a new restroom at a local park to replace the one that was closed in 2018. Also, on our ACS webpage, which I'll speak about during this webinar, are handbooks for data users, and these handbooks contain actual case uses of ACS data. With these stories and your own uses of ACS data, it's easy to say that ACS is vital for decision making. So how do households participate in the ACS? First, addresses are randomly selected to participate. In a typical year, the American Community Survey data collection operation uses 3 response modes that take place over a 3-month period. Households that receive the survey can respond online, by mail with a paper questionnaire, or by computer-assisted interviewing with a field representative. Typically for most housing units, the first phase of data collection includes an invitation for the household to respond online, which is mailed to the sample address. If the household does not respond online, a paper questionnaire is sent for the household to complete and return by mail. This self-response phase lasts roughly 8 weeks, and a household can receive up to 5 mailings asking for a response to the survey. For sample addresses or unmailable addresses that the Census Bureau cannot contact, a subsample of these non-responses will be selected for computer-assisted interviewing. This phase lasts about 4 weeks. If the census receives an online response or a completed paper questionnaire from the sample address at any point of the process, that address will be removed from the data collection workload. Now, each household or each address has about a 1 in 480 chance of being selected in a month, and no address should be selected more than once in every 5 years. Also, respondents are always able to call the telephone questionnaire assistance line if they have questions about the survey or prefer to complete the survey over the phone. Each completed survey is important because it is the building block used to create statistics about communities. At the bottom of the slide is the actual URL where respondents can find information on ways to respond, as well as FAQs and the direct link to respond now online. And with that said, we want to send a big thank you to our respondents, and their responses is what allows us to publish ACS data. The content collected by the ACS can be grouped into 4 main types of characteristics. We have our social, demographic, economic, and housing. Taking a closer look at the type of information each of these categories contain, social characteristics include topics such as education, language spoken at home, and veteran status. The American Community Survey also collects basic demographic characteristics such as sex, age, race, and Hispanic origin. Economic characteristics include such topics as community to work, employment, and income. And housing characteristics include topics such as computer and internet use, housing cost, and vehicles available. Now, all these topics combined are used to produce more than 1,000 tables for local communities each year. Along with the numerous topics covered, the ACS also provides data for more geographies on an annual basis than any other household survey. The image on the slide shows some of the geographies for which ACS data are produced and the relationship between them. Lower geographic areas fit neatly within the larger areas directly connected with lines. For example, school, congressional, and state legislative districts fit neatly within states and do not cross state boundaries. However, they may cross boundaries of counties or metropolitan areas. In this visualization, you can also see the smallest geographic building block is the block group. And block groups include areas between 600 and 3,000 people each. The unique ability to report on a wide range of geographies is what gives the ACS such a broad appeal. Covering a wide range of geographic areas, ACS data are most commonly needed at the state, county, census tract, and block group geographic levels. This slide illustrates the relationship between these common geographic types and how they are nested within one another, as the example shows on the slide for El Paso, Texas. Census tracts are small statistical subdivisions within a county with populations of 1,200 to 8,000 people. And block groups are a group of blocks within a census tract and as I previously mentioned, 600 to 3,000 people, as you see blown out in the right-hand corner of the screen. For some of you, geographic areas like census tracts and block groups may be new. And you may be wondering how to find census tract and block groups that are relevant to you. Not to worry, the Census Bureau does provide an address lookup tool on data.census.gov, which I'll speak about and perform a demo in just a bit. And this address lookup tool provides the geographic areas associated with a specific address of your interest. And I'll show this when demoing data.census.gov in just a moment. And again, the ACS has the ability to report on a wide range of geographies, as well as to provide data at very granular levels like census tracts and block groups. So earlier I mentioned the different products the ACS provides. These products are released about 1 year after the data are collected. For example, the 1 year ACS data collected from January 1st through December 31st of 2023 will be released in September of 2024. ACS 1 year estimates combine data collected over 12 months are available for geographic areas with a population of 65,000 or more, and as stated, are typically released in September. ACS 1 year supplemental estimates are a subset of detailed tables that are available for geographic areas with a population of 20,000 or more. And 1 year supplemental estimates provide the most current data to almost twice as many geographies compared to the standard 1 year release. And these are typically released in October. ACS 5 year estimates combine data collected over 60 months are available for geographic areas of all sizes down to those granular census tract and block group levels. And 5 year estimates are typically released in December. Now, given we are on the verge of our 2023 ACS data release season, 2023 1 year estimates will be released on September 12th. 1 year supplemental estimates are set for release on October 17th, and 5 year estimates will be released on December 12th of this year. The full detailed data release schedule for each year is available on the link, as you see at the bottom of the slide, which you can also navigate to by going to census.gov/ACS. And here's a map that shows you which releases are available for different parts of the country. In this map, the counties shaded dark blue receive 1 year supplemental, and 5 year estimates. These are counties with a population of 65,000 or more. The lighter blue counties receive 1 year supplemental estimates and 5 year estimates. These are counties with a population of 20,000 more, while the yellow counties only receive 5 year estimates, and these are counties with a population below 20,000. If you live in many states in the Northeast, there are lots of counties that meet the 65,000 population threshold, which means that you get the latest 1 year data each year. On the West Coast, many of these counties get 1 year data as well. But in parts of the Midwest, especially in the Dakotas, stretching down to North Texas, shaded in yellow, these areas have much greater reliance on the 5 year data. However, counties shaded in yellow, once combined into a larger population geography like a state, the state itself will receive 1 year data due to meeting a 65,000 population threshold. For example, many of the counties in North and West Texas are shaded yellow and therefore only receive 5 year data. But when those smaller counties are combined into a larger population geography, like the state of Texas itself, data users can find 1 year and 5 year data for Texas as a whole state. So I just covered some background information about the ACS. Now let's jump into the data products or types of tables that the ACS actually provides. We offer many different types of data products to meet the needs of our data users. Pre-tabulated profiles and tables are products that are already created for you. Data profiles are good places to start for novice data users, as they contain the most frequently requested social, economic, housing, and demographic data in a separate profile. The data profiles summarize the data for a single geographic area, providing both estimates and percentages to cover the most basic data on all ACS topics. Tables provide a precise or detailed view of a subject. They are the best source for the most comprehensive ACS tables. So if you're not able to find an existing table to meet your needs, we also offer the public use microdata sample or PUMS files that allow you to create custom tables. PUMS files contain a sample of individual records of people and households that responded to the survey stripped of all identifying information, and they are best for data users with expertise in using statistical packages. Now that you understand more about the types of data products we offer, let's talk about how we identify the ACS products. While the characters of the table ID may look random at first, each table ID is purposely numbered to describe its content and format. For example, as you see on the slide, B06004 APR shows that the table contains place of birth statistics for the white alone population in Puerto Rico. So table IDs consist of up to 5 elements. Element 1 identifies the table type. In this example, the table type is a base table, which is a detail table. Therefore, the letter B is used. Element 2 identifies the subject. In this case, the subject of the table is place of birth, which is identified by 06. Element 3 is the sequential number, a set of 2 or 3 digits that uniquely identify the table within a given subject. In this instance, it's 004. Element 4 is the race iteration of the table. Each table is repeated for the 9 major race and Hispanic or Latino groups. The A stands for white alone. And element 5 is for tables where the content of the table for Puerto Rico differs from the U.S. table. A comparable U.S. table ID will have the same first 4 elements, but without the 5th element PR on the end of that table ID. Another feature you'll see in our data products is the inclusion of a margin of error, or MOE, next to each ACS estimate. Because the ACS is based on a sample rather than all housing units and people like the decennial census, ACS estimates have a degree of uncertainty associated with them called sampling error. In general, the larger the sample, the smaller the level of sampling error. To help users understand the impact of sampling error or data reliability, we provide a margin of error for each ACS estimate. MOEs allow data users to be certain that at a given level of confidence, the estimate and the actual population value differ no more than the value of the MOE. The Census Bureau uses a 90% confidence level as its standard, and all ACS estimates published on data.census.gov have margins of error calculated at the 90% confidence level. It's also important to note that the MOEs provided by the Census Bureau are always in the same units as their respective estimates. So for instance, a percent estimate will have a percent MOE, and a median income estimate will have a MOE in dollars. Here we have a typical table, detail table B01001, sex by age, as is displayed on data.census.gov for the state of Wyoming. As you can see, the table has 3 elements: the characteristics, aka the descriptions, total, male under 5 years. Then you have your estimates, and then accompanying the margins of error along with those estimates, all outlined in red. Put simply, the margin of error, or MOE, is a measure of the possible variation of an estimate around the population value. In this example, we want to know how many males under age 5 live in Wyoming. So therefore, we find the lower bound by subtracting the margin of error from the estimate. And then similarly, we find the upper bound by adding the estimate up and margin of error. And therefore, we have the 90% confidence that the true number of males under age 5 in Wyoming falls between the lower bound of 16,332 and the upper bound of 17,212. Now that we're familiar with the ACS data products, I want to briefly go over some data tools which provide users with ACS data, and I will also finish the section with a few demonstrations of data tools as well. So we cater to a variety of data users with unique needs, and therefore we have a variety of data access tools. This is a list of a few of those tools. So therefore we have data.census.gov, which I've mentioned several times leading up to this point. And this is the Census Bureau's main dissemination platform to access Census Bureau statistics. We also have My Congressional District, which gives you quick and easy access to selected statistics collected by the ACS and the county business patterns. Also, Quick Facts provides selected statistics for all states and counties and for cities and towns with a population of 5,000 or more using ACS as well as other Census Bureau data sets. On the Map for Emergency Management provides data for disasters, natural hazards, and weather events using ACS data, as well as other Census Bureau data sets. And My Tribal Area gives you a quick and easy access to selected ACS statistics for tribal areas. My Community Explorer, which is an interactive map-based tool highlighting demographic and socioeconomic data from the ACS and other data sets. And the Census Business Builder, which provides selected demographic data from the ACS and economic data from the Census Bureau to help users start or grow business or understand the business landscape for a region. And the Application Programming Interface, or API for short, lets developers create custom apps to reach new users, makes key demographic, socioeconomic, and housing statistics more accessible than ever before. So all data tools are available from census.gov. You can choose the Data and Maps tab from the ribbon at the top of the page. Then click on the Data Tools and Apps tab to view a comprehensive list of census tools and apps. Likewise, you can also follow a link at the bottom of this slide. So I do want to take a moment and demonstrate a few ACS data tools. I'm going to demonstrate how to access data from data.census.gov, QuickFacts, and My Congressional District. If you want to be able to view margins of error or conduct statistical testing, you would turn to data.census.gov. You would also use data.census.gov if you want more than basic statistics or cross-tabulated data for a large number of geographies. So for example, if I want to know the percentage of children under 5 who are enrolled in a school in all the cities in my state, I would use data.census.gov. Some data users, however, may be interested in basic statistics like the population for their city. For that, they can turn to QuickFacts. QuickFacts helps to easily find basic population, business, or geography statistics for a particular geography with a population of 5,000 or more. So this can be a city, a state, or a county. For example, if I want to know the percentage of children under 5 in my city and was not concerned with also having the margin of error included, I would start with QuickFacts. And last but not least, My Congressional District is used when data is needed for population housing data tabulated by geography for congressional districts. So I'm going to get into my demonstrations now. First will be data.census.gov. So I'll go ahead and flip my screen over so you can see. So now we're on data.census.gov, and you have our search bar here. We have some other helpful information, help, and feedback in advanced search. For this demonstration, let's say I'm interested in the median housing value for all counties within California. One of the easiest ways to do this is advanced search. It sounds kind of daunting at first, seeing advanced search, but it's not at all. It's actually very helpful using the filter. So I'll go ahead and click advanced search. Now on the left-hand side of my screen, what I will see is my different filters. First, I'll go to my geographies. Counties already listed here. If you don't see your geography listed, you can select all geographies, and it'll give you a full list of all the geographies you can select from in data.census.gov. But I'll go ahead and select county, and I'll select my state of California, and I'll select all counties within California. I'll check that box. And once that loads up, you'll see the filter in the upper left-hand corner of your filter list. Now what I'm interested in is the median housing value. So I'll scroll down to topics. I'll click on housing, financial characteristics, and housing value and purchase price. Once selected, once again, that filter will show in the upper left-hand corner. And there they both are. And then from there, I can go ahead and click search. Now, this will give me a full list of tables. Scrolling through them, I'm looking for the median value in dollars, which is table B25007 here. I can go ahead and click the table, and it will open the table for me here. To make it a little bit more viewable for you, you can also push in your filters just like this. Drop your filters in, and you can also keep your full list of tables here. Let's say this table wasn't what you're looking for. You can continue to scroll through and select different tables of your liking. So what's nice is it's built in all the counties within California. And another neat tool of data.census.gov is the mapping feature. So what I'll do now is I'll go to more tools, and I'll go to map, and it will map this data for me. So once it loads in, you'll see how it shades the counties of California between like a darker blue into a lighter blue. And one thing that may be jumping out to you, which jumps out to me right away, is, well, some of these counties are still gray. They're not necessarily shaded. That's true. So what we'll do is we come back to our table and view full table. And remember earlier when I talked about the different data sets. So there's the 1 year and 5 year data sets. So up here, we're currently on the 1 year data set. So that's only for geographic areas of 65,000 or more. I'm going to change that to select the 5 year, and you'll see your table update with all those different counties that have populations less than 65,000. So now you're seeing a full list of all your counties in California. So those smaller counties, those smaller populated counties are now coming into my table, into my data. Once again, I click more tools. I can go down to map. And now when it maps, now all the counties in California will be shaded because I've included those with that 5 year data set. Now, another cool, couple other cool features with data.census.gov that I'll show you. I'll go back to the table, view full table. Is let's say you're using this data or any other data for your report, you're pulling it from data.census.gov, and you want to cite this data. Just recently, we have built in a citation tool. So you click more tools and go to cite. And there's your citation for this table in different formats as well. You can simply copy that into your report or whatever you may be working on to cite where you found the data and from the ACS. And the last cool tool that I said I would show you as we got to the demonstration that I promised I would show you was the address lookup tool. So in the left-hand corner, I can go click on United States Census Bureau, the logo here. That'll simply take me back to the home page of data.census.gov. Now within this search bar here, you can see this, this location marker. You can go ahead and click the location marker. And doing that, you can now put in an address, and putting in this address lookup tool will allow you to find the geographies that are relevant to a specific address. So for this instance, I'll show the address or type in the address of the United States Census Bureau. So 4600 Silver Hill Road, city is Suitland, state is Maryland, the zip code is 20746. And I'll go ahead and click search. Now doing so, this will return back all the relevant geographic levels for that address. So for example, if you want census tract data or block group data for your specific address of your concern, you may not know what that census tract or block group is. With this address lookup tool, I know what my block group is now for the location of the Census Bureau, and that's block group 2. Or my census tract, which is census tract 8024.05. So this is helpful in helping you find those different geographic levels that are relevant to your searches for specific address locations. All right, so our next example is Quick Facts. So I'll jump on over to Quick Facts I have up here. As it's built into the name as Quick Facts, you can see how very quickly it just provides you data right away. For this instance, what I'll be looking at is, let's say, the Charleston City, South Carolina, and let's say I'm interested in the monthly ownership cost for those with a mortgage. So if you first come to this page, you'll see it has a whole, just a list of a table here with different lists of estimates and data. So very quick, very upfront. But to find your location, I'm going to go ahead and type in Charleston. It'll pre-populate for you different areas with Charleston, and I find Charleston City, South Carolina here. Once I click this, it adds to the table. It keeps the United States there, the nation estimates, so I can compare that. And you can scroll down and see your different estimates. Now, if there's an estimate you like, you can go ahead and click on it, and it'll bring it to the top of the table, just more so front and center. Or you could also use a drop-down tool here that says select a fact. And this is where I'm going to select my fact for the ownership cost. So I'm going to scroll down to housing. I'm going to find my median selected monthly owner cost with a mortgage, and this is using the 2018 through 2022 ACS 5-year data. So I go ahead and select that, and you see it now here at the top of my table. What's also nice about Quick Facts is that you can also chart this data. So I can go ahead and click chart up here from the top toolbar, and I'll select view selected locations. And hopefully it'll load up for me here shortly. There it goes. They give you a bar chart, and of course, they have Charleston City, South Carolina, this the location you selected, along with the United States. You can edit this by marking them out or Xing them out. So that's pretty interesting. But what's also really cool here is if you select chart again and select Charleston City, South Carolina, what it's going to do now is going to bring up every city, place, and town within South Carolina and show you that bar chart for comparison. So you could simply scroll down and look at all those different locations. And what's also nice, I can select this addition symbol here and it will add it to my table as well. So knowing that James Island Town, South Carolina is near Charleston, that may be of interest. If I'm looking for monthly ownership costs for those of the mortgage, I can click this plus symbol here and simply scroll back up and go to my table. And there it is on my table now as well. So I can compare it with Charleston City as well as against the nation. And you can put, I think, up to 6 or 7, I believe, different geographies in QuickFacts and compare them. Moving on, let's go to my congressional district for our next demonstration. So my congressional district is pretty straightforward as well. First thing you'll see is to select your state. So you can select your state and then it will map out your state as well as with those congressional districts within the state. If you do not know your congressional district, you can use the zip code lookup feature tool down here at the bottom, select go, and it'll let you know based on your zip code what congressional district is related to that zip code. But for this example, I'm going to look up income information for the congressional district 2 in Nebraska. So I'll simply select state, I'll scroll down, and I'll select Nebraska. And as you see here on the screen, it'll outline the state of Nebraska, as well as those congressional districts within Nebraska. I want to select the congressional district that encompasses Omaha, Nebraska. So that would be congressional district 2. I'll select 2 here. You see how it highlights it. And now all my data here will upload to the right. At the top, you can see the different characteristic types of the data. Since I'm interested in income, I'll go to socioeconomic. And there's my data. So as I scroll down, I can see the median household income as well as mean household income. There's other things like health insurance coverage and much more different education and business information, housing, people, and workers. So there's a lot of different data there for you to find very quickly using my congressional district. My congressional district does have display ACS margin of error. So I check this box down here. I can display the margin of error, or I can just simply take it away for easier viewing. Also with my congressional district, you can share and download the data you find. So clicking this icon down here, and you can download the congressional district 2 or all districts in Nebraska. It depends on what you have pulled up in the tool itself. You can also embed the widget. So if I select embed widget, it will give me the code here. I can simply copy this code and add it to my web page. It automatically defaults, if you want it to the current district that you have pulled up, which in this case would be Nebraska Congressional District 2, or you can simply deselect that and it would just give you the overall My Congressional District widget onto your web page. So some helpful tools there. I'm going to jump back over to our slides now and finish up. All right, so let's talk about the variety of resources the Census Bureau provides for learning more about ACS data, its tools, and about the survey at large. First, we have the ACS main page, which is a great tool to start with if you have questions about the ACS. This page can be found by going to census.gov and then selecting surveys and programs, then selecting ACS, or simply just go to census.gov/ACS. And this website contains a wealth of information about the survey, its data products, tools for data users, and other helpful information. If you are curious about why we ask questions about certain topics on the ACS, every question has a required purpose and many uses to help communities. You can explore the set of interactive Why We Ask web pages to discover the importance of each question. These pages can be accessed by selecting the Why do you ask each question under the About the ACS section on our census.gov/ACS website. For each topic, you can browse some of the most popular results from that question and view the question as it appears on the form itself. We also provide information on the origin of the question, how we protect your privacy, and how ACS statistics help communities. Links to our data tables and tools pages can be found through the ACS data page. These web pages will introduce you to the most popular tools and data products with descriptions and links for each. For example, you can find links to tools we just covered, like data.census.gov, QuickFacts, My Congressional Districts, and many others. For example, like My Tribal Area. And these tables, the tables page will provide definitions of each type of table, as well as links to the tools where these products can be found, many of which will have direct links to data.census.gov. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, the ACS provides millions of estimates, and that is the strength of the ACS, estimating characteristic distributions. The Census Bureau recommends that users compare population characteristics such as percents, means, medians, and rates rather than estimates of population totals, as they are more often reliable from the corresponding count estimates. But count estimates can be used if necessary. Because of this, we recommend that users compare percentages instead of counts where possible. But again, users can always compare count estimates if their needs require it. Now, if you're looking for population totals, we recommend using the Decennial Census or Population Estimates Program. When an estimate from the Population Estimates Program is available, such as the total population or number of females or males and females in a county, the Population Estimates Program data is the official value and is preferred. In general, the Census Bureau recommends that you do compare estimates from non-overlapping periods. So, for example, compare 2013 through 2017 ACS 5-year estimates to 2018 through 2022 ACS 5-year estimates. Don't compare overlapping periods. For example, 2017 through 2021 ACS 5-year estimates to the 2018 through 2022 ACS 5-year estimates would not be a proper comparison. According to Chapter 4 of our General Users Handbook, overlapping datasets share the same pooled data collected during the overlapping years. You do want to compare similar period lengths, for example, 1 year to 1 year and 5 year to 5 year. Do not compare estimates from different period lengths. For example, don't compare a 1-year data set to a 5-year data set. You can visit the comparison guidance page for broad information about comparing ACS estimates across years and the 2010 and 2020 census. As mentioned earlier, the ACS collects data from a sample of the population in the United States and Puerto Rico rather than the whole population. So all ACS data are estimates. To help you interpret the reliability of the estimates, the Census Bureau publishes a margin of error, or MOE, for every ACS estimate. Unless you take into account the MOEs, you cannot conclude that estimates are statistically different from one another. Instead, you have to conduct statistical testing when making comparisons between estimates to check for those differences. We will talk more about how to do this in an upcoming slide. And looking at estimates alone to decide if they are higher or lower than one another is not sufficient. Now let's discuss statistical testing, as I just mentioned, and its importance. Statistical testing is an important part of data analysis, as it can tell us whether or not a difference in an estimate is meaningful. In short, a statistical test is a test to determine if a difference is unlikely to have occurred by chance. To be significantly different, there must be statistical evidence that there is a difference between two estimates. Statistical testing should be conducted anytime you make a comparison between two estimates. For example, if you're going to the city council or county council asserting that a certain population has experienced poverty in higher proportions in recent years than it had in several years before, you want to make sure you've tested to know that a true difference exists. Or if you're the transportation planner in your county and you want to make the case for projects based on perceived longer commute times, you want to conduct statistical testing before proceeding with project proposals to confirm that the estimated commute times have actually increased. This slide contains a formula for testing statistical significance. The good news is you don't need to worry about relearning advanced algebra because the Census Bureau provides its statistical testing tool for public use. This tool allows you to input estimates you like to test and receive a visual notification of whether the estimates are statistically different or not. Using the tool, you can compare both pairs of estimates and groups of estimates against each other. The tool is available for download as an Excel spreadsheet via the link at the bottom you see here on the slide. Moving on, now for users that have access to data but need more information to understand the tables and to complete their analysis, we offer code lists, subject definitions, group quarter definitions, instructions for applying statistical testing, comparison guidance, and accuracy of the data in our technical documentation section. The technical documentation page, as shown on this slide, can be found at the census.gov/ACS, and then selecting technical documentation on the left-hand navigation. I want to also point out our information for web pages. These pages are organized by ACS user type, such as American Indian Alaska Native population, businesses, Congress, and more. These pages provide resources for each type of user and include the ACS information guide, specific handbooks aimed toward the user type, relevant flyers for the user, and much more. So basically, it's a one-stop shop for finding resources as they pertain to the type of data user you are. And of the information for pages contain quick links to access ACS data through tools like data.census.gov, quick facts, and more. To wrap up today's webinar, we'd like to invite you to stay in touch with us. One way is by telling us how you use data from the American Community Survey. So have you or your organization used ACS data to make an important decision, help your community, or expand a business? If so, please share your ACS data story with us. We post stories to our webpage so people can learn how data enthusiasts across the country are using ACS data in creative ways. Hearing real-life uses of how the data help communities across the country can give data users ideas about how they can too use ACS data to help their community. Also, consider joining a group we have specifically for users of ACS data, known simply as the ACS Data Users Group. This group includes a website and online community with over 5,000 members, where you can share messages, materials, and announcements related to the survey, and membership is free and open to all those who are interested. Finally, you can sign up for and manage email updates from the ACS. Our monthly events and updates email will alert you when new materials are available, and you'll stay updated on our data releases as well. You can use the QR codes here under each icon to learn more about these resources. In closing, I want to share information on how to find answers to get support after this webinar. You can visit our webpage once again at census.gov/ACS. If you still have questions, you can reach us by phone or email at acso.users.support@census.gov or by phone at 1-800-923-8282. Our Census Academy webpage is our learning hub for data skills. You can learn how to access and use Census Bureau data your way through how-to data gem videos and in-depth courses, webinars, and tutorials. In fact, we even have a course titled Discovering the American Community Survey. This page also has links where you can request a training at no cost from our data dissemination specialist or DDSs. DDSs are located within your region and can provide you with assistance about Census Bureau data, such as how to obtain or understand ACS data. So whether that be conducting one-on-one webinars with business startups or conducting large-scale presentations at universities, these specialists strive to put the public in touch with data they need. If you're on social media, connect with us at the U.S. Census Bureau using the hashtag ACS data. And one last thing, if you're using ACS estimates, make sure to source the Census Bureau American Community Survey as to where you receive the data. It helps people know that the information they're using is powered by the ACS. This concludes today's webinar, and I thank you for joining the introduction to the ACS. Have a good day.